I'm just putting a call into Jim Penman, the famous, fabulous, smart Jim Penman. Are you there, sir?
I am here, Jeremy. How are you?
Bless you, bless you, bless you. I'm sitting here around the dining room table. Dr. John Bruni, who is an expert. You did tell me a second ago. It's
strategic studies, defense acquisition, blah 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 blah.
Yeah, you buy all these things.
Yes,
you know what to buy.
Yes, I do. The defense acquisition expert of sorts, I think. Yes.
Well, we were talking, Jim, about this submarine deal. Have you ever heard of a deal like that? We buy new submarines and then somehow they turn into second-hand ones. We don't know how second-hand they are or how many knots they've done. How would you handle this situation?
Well, it seems to me Australia is in an increasingly perilous environment. It really is. Americans are less reliable than they were, and there's a lot of things going on in the world. To me, nuclear submarines that we may or may not get some decades into the future seem a fairly low priority.
Yeah.
What we've seen in the Ukraine war, for example, is the importance of small, cheap munitions, and that's something as a maritime country we should be very good at.
Yep. Yeah. Well, drones and things like that, we do we make them?
Well, we are making them. The only thing is, and here's an irony, right? So we're a world leader in drones and counter-drone warfare. We're flogging them all off to Ukraine. But, the old Aussie spirit of, we don't like the tall poppies and, we don't favour our own systems. You go off to Canberra and ask one of the senior bods, whether or not we're integrating that stuff into our force structure. And they'll sit back and say, we've got new F-35s, we got these new boats coming in, these AUKUS-class boats, and we got this and we got that. And so there's only a certain amount of money in our budget, and we will favour the big, expensive, big-ticket item. And why do we do that? Because buying drones and missiles, as common sense as that may sound to you and I, is not what sells a headline for a politician. A politician wants to be wedded to a big project. It's a legacy thing. I brought AUKUS to fruition. I've got my name on that submarine, or I've got my name on that aircraft, or that big other project that we're thinking about. But if it's about, equipping the Australian Armed Forces with the very thing it needs, which is basically semi-automated or automated drones, whether they be underwater drones or whether they be flying drones, and we are working on something that's really very cool, the Ghost Bat, which is basically, they call it the Loyal Wingman. It's like a robot fighter plane, effectively. So it could double the air power that we could field at any one time once these things roll out. I think
more cheaply.
Well, yes and no. Let's talk about the economics of things. The economics of modern warfare is expensive because we're always looking for the exquisite system. So if we buy the JSF, the JSF has got a human being. The human being is the computer that drives the cockpit. Now, that's expensive to train. The human pilot is very expensive to train and maintain for the life of him being a pilot. The aircraft itself is a cost on top of that. The maintenance of the aircraft is a cost on top of that. So the whole package, pilot, air crew, aircraft, we don't, these are the hidden costs of the aircraft. When we say, a one JSF will cost, $200 million, that's only the base price. You're not counting in all the other millions of dollars incorporated in JSF.
JSF is Joint Strike Fighter.
Joint Strike Fighter, otherwise known as the F-35 or the Lightning. Yeah.
Oh, God. Jim, is it possible you've built up this incredible empire by being, I've no doubt, being incredibly smart, but you reckon that looking at the government and the way they run everything and the cost of government, you reckon we could franchise out the whole thing and do it more cheaply?
Oh, I'd love to. Particularly big sections of the public service. It's just unbelievable what goes on. You drive past, just in the littlest level, drive past an area where they're fixing up the road, and you go there, and there's like 8 people, 2 or 3 holding signs, and it's hard to see any of them actually working. This is government gone absolutely crazy. They're so inefficient. Things like building approvals are just a nightmare. We spend billions of dollars on these bureaucrats, and all they do is slow things down, take months to get anything done. Privatised a lot, I would say.
But this is also the employment solution that government has for us. So we
Yes.
increase the size of government, we increase the size of local bureaucracy, and we think that we can absorb the labour force that way, rather than actually thinking, what does Australia need? What are we good at? And let's double down on all of that to make a lot of money for all of us going forward. We don't think of that, do we?
Jim,
No.
how can we fix it?
Oh my goodness, I don't know if we can. You change the population and get another. People are just so enamored of huge government. It just gets worse and worse by the day. We get this strangling bureaucracy at every level. And these people who impose this have no idea of the costs of what they're doing. And they have no idea of efficiency. Even in my own business, if you let loose, inefficiency can rise very fast. And I'm the entrepreneurial owner, but it can happen very, very easily in a public service where nobody's responsible for anything. Our public service could be a third the size that it is now. We would save uncounted billions and billions of dollars if we just had efficient government. But these people have such enormous political power. Who supports the Labor Party? Not the entrepreneurs like me. It's the people who win these feather bedding jobs and the unions with the charging 10 times as much to build anything. It's way, way out of proportion. It's so hard to build anything, to do anything in this country now. It's getting worse. We are really heading towards banana republic status.
Well,
Paul Keating was right.
Can we stop it, or is it too late? Or do we perhaps find somewhere else to live? Or I don't know.
A banana republic.
A banana republic, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. I'd like to think we could fight back in some way against some of this strangling bureaucracy. I mean, there are certain very slight signs, like here in Victoria, we've got the Labor government, which is an appalling government, is actually relaxing to a little bit the strangling hold of zoning. It doesn't go nearly far enough. But I mean, those kinds of things, just get rid of stuff. Look, a perfect example is the taxi industry, all right? Taxis were controlled by government for decades. You limited the number of taxis. Then people like Uber and Lyft come along and they reduce, take away the government monopoly. You know, you get three things happening. First of all, you get better service, then you get lower prices, and then you get more actual money earned by the people who drive the bloody things. All you got to do to get all those three great benefits is the government to stop interfering, and it applies to everything.
Yeah, get out of the way.
Get out of the way. We can make this country great and wealthy, and we don't need ever-rising taxes to do it. You could reduce taxes if you were just efficient in what you did.
You know how many pages of tax law there are, Jim?
Oh, my goodness.
17,000. 17,000 pages of tax
That's a
law.
bloody scandal.
And how many billions of dollars do we spend on the private companies trying to get around this labyrinth and maze of laws?
Yeah.
You need very, very simple taxes, low taxes with few exceptions. Simple. Places like Singapore do it far better than us. No wonder they're wealthier than we are. Just got better government.
Wouldn't you think we would look at a model like Singapore, and they've got it right, thanks to a man called Lee Kuan Yew, and you'd say, well, look, we'll just go over there on a bit of a study tour and have a little look and see how they've done all of this.
Look at Singapore, wealthier country than us. What have they got? They've got no mines, they've got no resources, they've got nothing. They've just got people with a decent government, and they're richer than we are. How lunatic is that? We have the best natural resources of any country on earth. But what are we doing with it? We're just strangling ourselves.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find it here. In fact, today's an auspicious day for Singapore.
It was.
Here it is. The first independent government of the state of Singapore is sworn in with Lee Kuan Yew as Prime Minister. This day, 1959, June 5. The best thing that ever happened to them was that man.
Yeah, what happened was he does. Hi, Jim. It's Peter Salerno here.
Hi, Peter.
Yeah. Now, what happened, I remember reading it just recently as well, but I've been over there so many times and told about it. When he took over, he actually took over almost like a dictator. He said, that's it. Every person here is going to have a home. Every person here is going to have so many work days and stuff. So he adopted everything that the world had, right? And he said, we have to be the best, because Malaysia had kicked them out. right? And Malaysia didn't want anything to do with them. And the rest of the world sort of abandoned them. So he said, right, let's take over, let's build it. And like you said, Jim, they've got no natural products. They've got nothing this, nothing that, nothing that. They became the world's number one port. You know,
Yeah,
they
but most of
more petrol.
Most of it is on reclaimed land. You know, they didn't even have the land.
Yeah, that's right.
They haven't even got
It
land.
wasn't a big island.
They haven't even got land. They've got no minerals. They've got nothing. They've got no oil. They've got nothing.
Yeah,
but they just
now,
got good government.
Yeah, they've got good government and they've got good management
and low tax
and low taxes. But see, and of course, if you own a car there, it's very, very expensive to drive around because they don't want the pollution. Years ago, Singapore stopped people spitting on the floor or on the ground, and then they stopped chewing gums because there was chewing gum everywhere.
Yeah.
Now, for them to make such a radical decision at that time was like, wow.
Yep.
But now everybody in the world is saying we should have done that too.
And Jim,
we've learned so much from Singapore.
Yeah, but people used to say on my program, when we had Lee Kuan Yew on the program at one time, this is in the day, it was the same visit where he dropped that line about Australia will become the white trash of Asia.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he was so right.
Smart man.
Very smart man. I don't know.
I find the whole thing so frustrating. I'm involved in different areas like franchising, like my wife's a builder. You look at all the, then you look at the employment of staff and stuff. The level of strangling is just going for higher and higher. More and more of the population is just employed by government, which is main role just to stop anybody else doing anything at all.
And
we can't get anything done. We can't get anything built. It's just so difficult, and it's getting worse by the day.
And someone like you would find getting into politics or getting into government enormously frustrating, and you wouldn't be bothered.
No, frankly, no.
But we need
business
people
is a
like
lot.
you
At least
there.
you got control.
We sort of need people like you there, entrepreneurs and people who have started from nothing and built up a big business. They're the sort of people that should be there, or at least advising the politicians. You know, these are the politicians should immediately say, right, who's going to be my advisor? Where am I going to learn from?
Yeah, I mean, have a good template and stick to it. Jim, what do you think of Pauline Hanson? Is this a bit of a flash in the pan, or the sign of real hope, something that could come out of?
I don't know. I've just been approached by somebody from One Nation with the idea of standing for the upper house, a winnable seat for them. Yeah,
do it.
No. Actually, what I actually did is I wrote back. This has just happened yesterday. It's a fact. I wrote back to them and I said, "Look at your policies on zoning reform. You don't go far enough." I said, "You get rid of you have a policy to get rid of zoning, and I will give you some support." That's basically my situation.
Well, tell me about zoning. Why is zoning such a problem?
Because it doubles the price of housing. If you look at a country, look at the people say it's immigration. Garbage. It's not immigration. Look at America. Compare, say, San Francisco with Houston. Same country, same immigration policy. House prices in Houston are about a quarter what they are in San Francisco. What's the difference? Zoning. They just simply don't have zoning. It works fine. You don't need it. It doesn't help. People should be able to build whatever they want to build with very, very minor things, like you don't put an industrial factory in the middle of a residential zone. But apart from that, just build what you want, where you want. Our property prices, our house prices are double what they should be. We could build a decent, good house if you get rid of some of these stupid regulations for about $250,000, all right? Now, make land available for subdivision, cost of the land's maybe $100,000. Like I've got 5 acres, for heaven's sake, which can't be subdivided. This is 5 minutes from the station, all right? Allow those places to be divided. You got the land price might be $100,000, $250,000 to buy the house, $50,000 profit. You got a house for $400,000 instead of paying $1 million. How good is that? New house, nice house. The only thing that stops us is government.
Well, in whose interest is it that complicates things in this manner?
Well, I think it's often people who are wealthy, and this is one of the problems with getting advice from people who are already wealthy, is they've got different ideas. Like if you're a multi-millionaire, having ever-rising property prices is a good idea. Look, quite frankly, I bought a couple of properties for $3 million, whatever. They'd be now worth $5 million with inflation, but then in actual fact, they're worth over 10. This is from 23 years ago. And so people like myself who've got a lot of money and property do quite well out of this. But the poor sods who are trying to rent houses and buy houses and so forth, are in such a terrible situation. So it's kind of like the government's there saying, okay, we've got these people in need, who need affordable housing, affordable rent, and we've got these multi-millionaires, which is most important. I know, let's screw the ordinary people and help the multi-millionaires become even richer. What is a democratic government doing stupid stuff like that?
Well, getting to stupid stuff, this budget seems to me to be incomprehensible.
More and more taxes, more and more taxes, more and more regulations. That's just all the way along. It's just shocking. Look, I don't necessarily think that negative gearing is a particularly good idea because it's just a way of tax evasion, and it gets people to put all of their resources into property instead of into businesses and so forth. But if you didn't have, but you almost need to, because when you have policies that say let's have the government force up the price of housing higher and higher and higher. If you don't have negative gearing, nobody can afford to rent. The rents become astronomical because there's going to be nobody to rent. So, but if you didn't have the zoning, if house prices were at the level they should be, you wouldn't need negative gearing. It's just a giant tax roll, but it's brought about by these stupid government policies that force up the price of housing and rents in the first place.
Yeah, what about the capital gains thing? After all, before 85, and Bob Hawke and Paul Keating, before 85, we didn't have a capital gains tax. In New Zealand, they don't have a capital gains tax.
Yeah, well, I think I don't disagree with everything. Look, generally speaking, it's not a good idea. It doesn't affect me very much because I don't intend to sell anything because I just build a business. I don't sell it. But yeah, look, taxes on entrepreneurs are always a very dodgy idea.
Yeah, but
look, there are certain things that I think they're doing this sensible. For example, the limit on superannuation over $3 million makes sense to me, because if you've got more than $3 million worth of superannuation, you're not really saving for your old age, are you? I mean, I have super, but only because it's a tax thing, nothing to do with security. So I think there's certain things you could clamp down on.
Yeah. But I'm just worried about putting a tax on incentive. I'm worried about telling young people that they can't have the opportunity that I had to.
I think it's a serious problem. I really do. But the trouble is, the government, there's this urge to spend more and more. We're going to get the money from. They can't get it from ordinary people because they get political backlash. So they say, okay, the entrepreneurs. But yeah, they will cripple the top end of the economy.
Well, that brings me to the point we were talking about earlier in the morning. When, as a household, if we looked at the government as being a household, when I run out of money, I stop spending. I can't go into debt. I won't go into debt. So why doesn't the government say, well, this is the pot of money that I've got. That is what I can distribute and spend. I can't do anything once that is gone, so I'll be very careful how I allocate this money. But
that's what they very well should do.
Yeah.
What's really shameful in Australia, 20 years ago we paid off our national debt.
Yes.
And now we're getting deeper. Look, there are times to go into debt. Like during wartime, when you've got a really dangerous enemy, you've got to go into debt. But in peacetime, in prosperity, you should not be borrowing. It's ridiculous. Government debt's costing us more than Medicare now, and it gets worse by the day. It's just rising and rising in a time of peace. What are we going to do if things get difficult, for heaven's sake? It's crazy. You've got to cut back on spending. There's just got to cut it back. And it was so easy. Just efficiency, basic systems of efficiency, basic systems, getting rid of stupid regulations could cut government spending dramatically without taking anything away from those who really need it.
Yeah, but Jim, there's one thing, John here. Jim, when it comes down to that, that's not going to be a politically sexy idea. People want to hear a politician whisper sweet nothings into their ear. That's the reality of our political process, right? So if you end up saying if say, for instance, you're Prime Minister or a Prime Minister aspirant, and you go off to the media and you say, my campaign is that we're not spending any more money on anything. Guess what? We're actually cutting stuff back. And guess what? That's as good as it's going to get. And the rest of it, ladies and gentlemen, it's all up to you and your entrepreneurial senses. Now, to us around the table, it makes perfect sense. It would not sell a vote from here to Timbuktu.
Then maybe we're going to get rid of democracy, because if you can't run a country the way you would run a company, that's the way you should run the country.
They did do it in the past, though. You know, you get people like Paul Keating come along, and he actually controlled spending. And this is a Labor Party treasurer. And you get Hawke and Keating, and then Howard and Costello. They actually did the hard things, and they actually did pretty well. They managed to hold themselves in long terms in office with much more respect than today. I think the government had the guts they could. I don't know. I just don't see any alternative. I've given up on the Liberal Party. I cannot see the difference.
No.
Maybe this new guy will do better, but they seem to be saying, "Oh, I'm just like Labor. I'll spend more. I'll tax more. I'll just like." It's almost the same thing. What's the difference?
It's kind of like cancer, isn't it? It's just out of control, uncontrolled growth.
Yes, yeah, absolute growth. And you can see it everywhere. You can see it the way they repair roads. You can see it. I mean, why does everything need two people with signs paid as much as school principals, blocking everything, even a truck doing work by the side of it? Two people with signs. Why can't you just have electronic signs controlled by the person side? It'd be easy enough to do.
Unbelievable. And I agree with you. They stand around and really, unless we're seeing things, doing absolutely nothing.
Oh, yeah, but they're getting $70,000 for
They're getting 70,000. Well,
to turn a sign.
With the lollipop, no, it's 200,000 a year.
Oh, is it? Oh, that's not too bad then, eh?
But when you look at comparison, look at the way that they collect rubbish these days with these automated trucks that pick them up. It's so efficient. It's so well done. Why can't you repair roads in the same way? Because the unions and the feather bedding and the stupid regulations just get in the way.
Yep.
So we have worse roads at higher costs.
And years ago, 1,000 years ago, the Romans were building roads, and they're still there in England today, just fine.
And still
well, I had a lot of slave labour. I'm not sure we go back to that level, but still.
Well, the whole thing's woke madness.
On any site, they've got a foreman that doesn't do any work. They've got a site supervisor that doesn't do any work. Then they've got a project manager that doesn't do any work.
Well, is it the unions who say this is the way you've got to do it?
Yeah, then they've got like a safety officer as well. And then they've got the manager of the whole organisation. So there's 5 people, just those 5 people standing around a hole in the ground. And then what happens is, then they've got 2 guys in the hole digging. And what happens is they say, this hole's costing us too much. We've got to sack one of those guys in the hole. They don't sack any of the managers. They don't sack the foreman or any of these others. So they end up wondering why they didn't get it done in time, you know. So there's too many, the old thing
too many
chiefs, not enough Indians. Yep. And
then behind that, you've got bureaucracies with endless diversity consultants and green environmentalists pay massive multi-$100,000 salaries for doing stuff all except slowing everybody else down and forcing up costs.
Yeah, there's another thing. Why do we allow the government to have a large public service, and I don't know how many hundreds of billions of dollars that costs, but they've got the public service, then they go out and they get the consultants on top of that. Why are they allowed to do that?
Well, they sack the public service, they sack the public servants, or they retire early on a package, and then they re-employ them as consultants. So they're paying twice as much.
Oh,
if they had them there the whole time, they would be paying, say, $300,000 a year. But because they paid them out a big package to retire, then they hire them back for $350,000 a year to be just a consultant.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Well,
and nothing gets any cheaper. It just gets worse and worse all the time. I see it everywhere you look. Everything I'm involved in, everywhere, more and more bureaucracy, more and more costs, less and less efficiency. It's just appalling. It really is. And yet we've got the technology to do this so much better.
Jim Penman, my guest, and the founder of Jim's Mowing. Jim, would you start Jim's Mowing if you were doing it today? Would you?
Well, I would. I would.
You would.
You got to do something with yourself, don't you?
Yeah, yes. You came out of university with a degree. What was it in history?
Yeah. I did a PhD in history. And lawn mowing was my part-time student job.
So I love it. You could do more with a lawnmower than you could as a doctor.
Oh, yes.
Doctor of history.
Yeah. Far too many people with degrees like mine, I'm afraid to say. I don't regret what I did because I developed some ideas which I'm now pursuing through a research foundation. But, I mean, in general, it's ridiculous the way we fund tertiary education. What we really need is more apprentices, for heaven's sake. We're desperately short of people, the plumbers and the electricians and the carpenters. If you're going to put some resource in it, do it to there. The really interesting thing about it is people say having a university degree is, you get more income, but you only if you haven't got compared with people who don't have any qualifications at all. If you look like being a plumber or a carpenter, you make sure your income is at least as good and often better than those who've got tertiary degrees, and you're earning money in the meantime. I think it's just lunacy.
And you're pretty AI proof, aren't you? I mean, I can't see how AI can take over a lot.
We are not worried about AI. AI can make us more efficient in how we work and how our franchisees work, but it's certainly not going to threaten them unless you've got completely humanoid robots doing everything, in which case we are all stuffed.
It started with mowing. What was the next one you took on, the next franchise?
Oh, I think it was cleaning. It was cleaning, yeah.
So is there any limit to the number of things that you can do?
Well, we only do service businesses. We don't do sit down things. We're not going to go into hamburgers or anything like that.
Brain surgery?
Well, medical doctors for sure. I don't think we'd actually start operating on the side of the road with our saws and scalpels and stuff. But the medicine should be and optometry and hearing and all kinds of things. We've got 50 odd division. We could do 150 easy. It's more a case of finding the right people to drive it.
Yeah, Jim's everything.
Yeah,
I mean,
Jim.
Everything mobile anyway. Yeah, sure, why not?
Sorry, Jim. It's Peter Salerno here. Jim, I have a podcast which is called Happy Business Radio. I'd love to have you on it because my business is all about, or my podcast is all about business and people starting business and encouraging people all over the world how to set up a business. And you're an ideal client for that. Can I?
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
Can I make arrangements to give you a call at some stage?
Yeah, just email me and Jeremy will give you my email address.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Jim, what's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Well, I don't know. One of the things my father used to say was that you don't gamble when you can't afford to lose. I think that was probably pretty good.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, but look, basically, it's more a case of not so much one piece of advice, but just learning. I read a lot. I would read or listen to a couple of books a week, plus endless other articles and stuff. So I'm always learning new things. The thing is, you got to constantly learn and constantly change.
Yep.
You can never be satisfied. Nothing is ever good enough.
They're growing.
Our complaint rate's like 99% less than it was, before starting gyms, but we're still working to make that better. You just cannot be good enough. You're always going to be dissatisfied. How can I improve? Every day.
How many hours a day do you work?
Oh, I don't know. Probably usual. But I mean, what's work? I don't know. Am I working now?
No,
really, I'm just ranting.
You sound relaxed and.
Oh, I have great fun. Yeah, and I'm off to my farm. I'm going to spend a few hours gardening today. It's right in the rain.
Don't tell me you still push a lawnmower.
No, actually, well, I do, and with a hand, I got a hand mower actually. I do it around the farm. I find that's quite good exercise. No weeding and stuff, and chopping firewood and stuff. It's great fun.
Did you have a hero when you were growing up, or at uni, or in business? Someone you thought, gee whiz, I'd like to be like that.
Oh, I got a lot of people I admire. I really admire Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, the Berkshire Hathaway guys. They're amazing people, and they're I've just reread a book about their managers called the Buffett CEOs, and it's the fantastic people, very, very ethical, great integrity, decent human beings, great strong relationships, very long-term thinking what's the good of the business in the long term. Don't go for these short-term speculation and stuff. People just go in short term. They want to speculate, get rich quick.
Yeah. Jim,
churning stocks and so forth. Terrible idea.
Jim, I don't know whether you've met Paul Macon or not. Paul, have you met Jim Penman?
I think the name rings a bell. I think I've met
him in the streets everywhere.
I've seen him.
Trucks.
I've seen him driving a truck. I've seen him in the city in Rundle Mall. I've seen him just about everywhere.
Yeah, just about everywhere. Cleaning windows, mowing lawns.
Oh, Jim, I hope I'm not insulting you, mate.
Minding babies. Oh.
The odd thing about it is I'm pretty much incompetent to do anything. I'm a fairly decent lawn mowing contractor, but the rest of it I know nothing about.
Well, look, you've made a great success of whatever you've done. What's the very next franchise? Have you got one on the drawing board?
Well, we've got there's one just come through, done training for provision of concrete, which is a really really nifty idea. He's got this system for doing a sort of small scale concreting supplies. And that's just the one that's coming up. Jim's towing. We hope to start fairly
Jim's
soon.
towing. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, we'd love to start Jim's personal training too. That's one thing. Jim's Healthy is our big thing now. I'm really, really into health and stuff. So we're actually developing at our Murrabak headquarters a healthy cafe and healthy retreats and exercise and diet and stuff. Jim's Healthy, the food. We're going to do frozen food. So these are things planned for the next few months.
Well, you could do a podcast, and I imagine that could be enormously successful. If you can fit it in, you've got to find the time.
Well, yes, all right. I don't know if that's my skill set, but health is a big thing of mine. I'm 74, and I'm really, really having great fun.
I can't believe, listening to your voice, I can't believe you're 75. I mean, you sound.
Well, I just did a test on Google, and it reckons I'll probably live to 100, given my, very good health and everything else and activity levels. So I've got a lot to do in the next 20, 25 years.
Yep. Oh
Exactly.
well. What do you do with your wonderful wealth? I mean, do you drive an expensive sports car? How do you indulge yourself?
Scientific research. I'm spending multiple millions of dollars a year on a research foundation, which is developing ways to help people to live healthier and happier lives, actually.
Wow.
It's run partly through La Trobe University and partly in China now, increasingly setting up. We're developing drugs and treatments of various kinds. We're actually mimicking the effect of mild food restriction, which is very beneficial. And we're looking at ways to do that.
What, eating?
Also publishing a book, Birth Rate Crisis, which is coming out in October, which is really how to solve the worldwide birth rate crisis. We've got the reasons for it. We've got the solution for it. So a lot of stuff going on.
In the old days, you'd have been knighted years ago, wouldn't you?
Yeah, knighthood's silly. Imagine being called Sir someone. Going crumbs. Now, if you're actually in the days of the knight and you're carrying a shield and a spear and going around, skewering infidels, it might make more sense, but at the moment it's a bit silly.
Jim, it's wonderful to talk to you, as always, and I so admire you. I really do.
Oh, thanks, Jeremy.
You're an inspiration. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Jim Penman, ladies and gentlemen. What a man.
What a man.